Well, this video is a bit different. We're not out and about today. Instead, I just wanted to kind of talk briefly about how I got into photography in the first place. And in particular, I wanted to talk about the Panasonic Lumix GX80 or GX85 in some regions. Sadly, it's not a film camera, it is a mirrorless digital camera, but it's a Micro Four Thirds camera that definitely got me into photography and I would highly recommend. So without further ado, I just wanted to take a quick trip back down to the past and check out some of my previous work. First of all though, I just thought I'd briefly touch upon the tech specs of this camera. I'm not going to go into too much detail because there's loads of videos out there detailing everything this camera has to offer. So go watch one of them. But just briefly, so this camera is a 16 megapixel camera and it is more than capable of shooting some incredible photos. It's not as high a megapixel count as some other cameras, particularly, look at the latest iPhone, the camera that is recording this video, and that has a higher megapixel count. But honestly, I would say the photos are still more than usable. Amazing quality. At the time that this camera was released, Panasonic also introduced a new 5-axis gimbal stabilization, so the video recording capabilities are also really high, but also using this camera handheld, it really reduces camera shake, especially at low shutter speeds, even when handheld. Alongside this, you also have a 3-inch touchscreen that is a really good monitor, and it can also be angled at up to 45 degrees, so you can look at it from a waist level. So it means you can definitely get a lot more creative with those angles and you're not kind of having to lean around looking for the viewfinder. You can pick one of these cameras up for around £500, sometimes a little bit cheaper if you get lucky on eBay or Facebook Marketplace, but I remember I bought mine back in 2021 and it was about £480. During my time with this camera, I also mostly just stuck to the lens that came with it. This is a 12 to 32mm zoom lens. It's not a fixed focal length lens. But it is still very good for what you get, although I know a lot of people like to switch it out for a 50mm lens, 50mm prime lens, that is. So anyway, let's have a quick look at some of my old work. I like to say that my style's changed quite a lot since I had this camera. I think I got rid of it just under a year ago, and yeah, I'd definitely say my style's changed, but a lot of these photos still definitely have what I would say is kind of my style to them. I would probably like to go back at some point and re-edit them using different techniques that I know now. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how some of these turned out. So let's first of all have a look at some street photography photos. So when I first got this camera, I was up at university in York, so the majority of these photos are taken whilst I was just walking out and about in between lectures. And I found that this camera made for a great street photography companion. It's small, it's lightweight, it's really portable, it's easy to use handheld, and it's really quiet too. There's a quiet mode on the camera, and it basically just turns off all noise. And it just means that you can shoot without being disturbed or other people wondering what's going on. I was a big fan of the architecture up in York. It's an absolutely gorgeous city. If you're ever in the UK and you're up north, then definitely head to York. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you're a photographer, you will love everything about it. It has a lot of opportunity around there, and even after 3 years, I still don't think I managed to get everything that I wanted to. So moving on, I think using this camera for travel is really easy. I took it with me on a trip to the Nurbergring to shoot the 24-hour Nurbergring event, and this was also the year back in 2023 that Red Bull had a big promotional event there with Sebastian Vettel and I think David Coulthard, and they were driving their old Red Bull Formula 1 cars around. The event was amazing and this camera really held up. I think this is definitely where the limitations of the lens that comes in the box comes in. I think if you had, a lens with a longer focal range, you could get up to 200mm and you could stick that on this camera, which I think there is a lens for it that has that range. But it certainly meant that I was limited to a lot of use cases with this camera in this scenario. So it just kind of meant I had to get a bit creative with where I stood, places around the track I found. But all in all, if you just wanted to keep it really simple, really lightweight, then you could easily just take the camera as it is straight out of the box and go and pick up some motorsport photography as a hobby. So just to round off this video, I just wanted to touch upon why I ended up selling this camera. Basically, I kind of had no use for it anymore. I have moved on more into film photography. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but for my digital photography, I just tend to use what I have on me, which is now my iPhone 16 Pro Max. The lens setup is incredible, and in terms of recording capabilities, it's far more capable than the Lumix GX80. More often than not, I just ended up finding myself leaving the Lumix at home and just bringing my phone out and about with me when it came to those short, quick sessions. For now, I don't think I see myself wanting to go out and buy another DSLR. I might do in the future. I might have a use case for it. I think definitely if I get back into more like motorsport or sport photography in general, then having one would be really good. But for now, I'm just enjoying the film photography journey and definitely intend on picking up a few more cameras this year that expand my range. I potentially have a trip planned to go back to the Nurbergring in May, so if I can bring a medium format camera with me to that event, then that would be amazing. Expensive, but it would be quite an interesting opportunity to compare the two, and I think that would make quite a good video. So if you want to watch that, do just let me know. Anyways, I'm sorry if this was a bit of a lackluster video. I had planned on taking a new SLR that I got for a spin, but the weather's been terrible, I've been feeling terrible, I've only just really recovered. So I thought I'd just quickly talk about an old camera of mine, and there we go. If you've ever had a Lumix GX85, just let me know, tell me what you think, and tell me whether you think you're going to pick up one.